Today we're going to do the frosting and the doweling, and you're going to need a glue gun or some way to glue down the cake onto your cake board. So I'm using the Wilton cake board here, and I put some gold ribbon around it. This cake's going to have a lot of gold. And what we're going to do is put the glue in the center and then put the cake right on there. If you didn't watch the first video, I have the video of filling and crumb coating the cakes, and I'll put a link to that. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of glue down. Put the cake right on there. Be careful because this stuff is really hot. Beautiful. Now I'm going to go ahead and frost it. I'll probably fast forward this part. And then I use this tool. It's a bench scraper. So I'm going to go ahead and try to smooth out my sides with the bench scraper. And if it doesn't work well, I will heat this up in some hot water. And I have to work on this side over here. So you'll see as I come around, you'll see the cake before I will actually. You see there's some holes here and there. So those holes can be filled up. So when I come around again, I'll have a nice, hopefully those holes will be gone. This cake is going to be covered with glitter, which makes my job a little easier. Okay, so then I take some Scott towels and just edge off a little bit on the bottom here because there's a little bit of And I'm not that concerned about it because I'm going to have a border. But I want it to be as neat as possible. And I can always go back in and clean that up later too. For doweling the cakes, I use straws. And these are the big, thick milkshake ones, but you can use the other kind. I started using these and I feel a little bit more secure with these versus the thinner ones. So basically what they do is they fill it, when you put it in the cake, it fills up with the cake, so it becomes quite sturdy. And you can also use wooden dowels, but I don't particularly like the wooden ones because I don't enjoy cutting them, and they never quite cut evenly, and then you have to kind of sand them down. And so these are really easy to use. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it with my 10-inch pan. So now I can see where the 10-inch cake's going to sit. I'm going to put 8 dowel rods into the bottom tier. So I'm going to put the first one in, and I like to use a marker. So I've got my first one. Now all the other ones I want to be exactly the same, so I'm going to use a marker to mark all those. And what I usually do is I use something to put them up against so they're even, and then I mark it just with a little tiny dot. We've got our 8. Then what I do is I put either coconut or graham cracker crumbs on this area here, so that when I put the next tier on, it won't stick as much to the buttercream. And today I'm going to use coconut. Now this cake's going to go in the fridge while I work on the other cakes. Now that my 14-inch cake is done and in the fridge, I feel a bit of relief because that's the hardest one. And now I'm going to move on to the 10-inch. I've got my sticky shelf liner. At this point, you don't worry about how smooth and pretty it looks. You just get it on there. And try to get it an even thickness. And I use an up and down motion like that. It's better to have too much on there to start with. Also have all your buttercream made ahead of time. So I've got 4 batches here. Is to take your straight edge and I'm holding up against the cake here like this, but I'm on the other side. And the lighting's not so good over there, so I'm just gonna, you'll see the cake as it comes around and it'll get smoother and smoother. See, like that little hole right there? You can just put a dab of buttercream on it. So when you come around again, it fills in the hole. This always reminds me of spackle. Like if you were spackling your walls. Like when the construction guys do the spackling on the walls. It's very similar. Okay, so I'm not going to fuss too much because I know that this is going to be mostly covered with glitter. That is perfectly fine for our purposes. I'm going to stop right there. And then we're going to dowel this one. Now we've got our top tier, and I'll frost that one quickly. Okay, keep in mind, I'm gonna have flowers here and lots of gold, tons of gold glitter, completely covering the top of the cake. All right, now the fun part begins. The 10-inch cake's gonna go on top. Not bad. Well, there's a bit of a gap down here, but I'm going to fill that in. Now it's time for the dowel. So I have a wooden dowel, and I'm going to hold it up to the cake, do my best estimate. Now this is going to have fresh flowers, so it's okay if it pops out a little bit. And it's easier for the caterers if you leave a little bit out so they can grab onto it. So I'm going to make it a little higher than the cake itself. Once you get it cut almost all the way through, you can just put on, whoops, there we go. Then I've got my a pencil sharpener. I'm going to sharpen it. That should do it. That's pretty sharp. Better if you have some leverage, so I went and got a stool to stand on. There it goes. It went right through. Now down into the next cardboard. Just don't try to push it too hard. Ease it down. And then all the way down as far as it'll go. So I'm just going to go ahead and decorate it. I'm going to take off the microphone and go ahead and put the glitter all over the cake.